welcome back to the Rowan's podcast. I am the Rowan. This, we're going to say, is episode number 31. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, pull up a really comfortable chair, and let's have a chat, because we are welcoming back our guest, Mr. Richard Featherly, a social worker and therapist extraordinaire. Hello, Richard. How are you today?
Hello, good morning. Doing well.
Oh, that's good.
Glad to be back.
I am so glad to have you back. I have someone else to talk to now. Now, you have a lot of good information, And let me dive right into that today. Richard sent me a lot of slides for us to go through. And I'm really sorry that we can't do a video one, because I would really love to share this with everyone. But we're just going to go through them this way. So why don't you take over, Rich, from the first slide here?
Yeah, you can always send people the slides if they contact you.
Oh, okay.
So what we decided to talk about is called Polyvagal Theory. It has to do with the vagus nerve, and kind of a big word, but it's something fairly simple once you, because we've all experienced it in our lives. So once you realize what this big weird word means, you might think, oh yeah, I knew that. So anyway, in my slide here, I say it links our mental and physical health to the state of our nervous system. And it's called a theory because a good scientist always leaves room for refinement and further validation, or maybe it'll get proved wrong someday, but it seems correct. So and then the polyvagal part of the word refers to three branches of our vagus nerve, which is our biggest nerve in our whole body, and it carries. A figure I heard recently was 80% of the autonomic nervous system, which means the automatic stuff, the stuff that we don't have to think about. And the interesting thing about our autonomic nervous system is it's our physiology, it's how our body works, but it can be strongly influenced by our perceptions, our thoughts and imprints, our beliefs, what we think about the world, whether we think we're safe or under threat.
That's interesting.
So yeah, and as I mentioned, the vagus nerve is a really huge nerve, and it has three main branches. So the first branch is called by the guy who invented, I say invented, but developed polyvagal theory. His name is Stephen Porges. He calls the first part of the vagus nerve the social engagement system, because it connects our heart to our mind, and it goes to our face and our, the organ of our body that we use to interact with other people. Our face, our language, our speech, our hearing. And so the first branch of the vagus nerve goes to that function in that part of our body that we use to communicate. And then the next branch of the vagus nerve is called sympathetic. I'm not quite sure why they called it sympathetic, but it's the part of us that does fight or flight. So it activates us. It gives us lots of energy. So, and if it's, I call it the gas pedal in our nervous system, or the turbo booster, or the warp drive if you're a Trekkie. So if we're under danger, it will, depending on what we think we're good at, it'll cause us to either fight off the danger or run away from it. And then so that branch of the nerve goes to our heart, our chest, so we can breathe faster if we need to. It goes to our blood vessels, so it can squeeze down some blood vessels to make blood flow better to other places in our body, like our muscles, so that we have more blood going to the muscles we need to either fight or run away. Then there's a third branch of the vagus nerve that goes to our digestive organs mainly, and it does digestion, and it goes to our immune system. It's part of the autonomic nervous system that we call parasympathetic. Sympathetic is fight or flight. Parasympathetic is all the stuff that happens when we're feeling safe, like at idle, a nice calm idle, or even just, doing things with people where we're feeling safe. So this branch goes to our digestive system and a few other places, and the response we have, like fight or flight, is a response to stress if it gets activated, whereas this branch that goes to our digestive system, it's actually a deactivation if we have stress. And also that first part of our of the vagus nerve that's called the social engagement system, that gets turned down as we get under stress. So that last part of the vagus nerve that goes to our digestive organs is part of the reason that we have the expression "scared the crap out of me" and some that are more explicit. So if so if that part of the nervous system gets turned down or almost turned off, our digestive system goes limp, and we can't digest what's in there anymore, and it can just escape. So that's where getting the crap scared out of us comes from.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yeah. So I'm going to go into each system in a little more detail now.
Okay.
So when the social engagement system is working, like I mentioned, it goes to our face, so it makes our face look friendly. It makes our voice sound interesting. If you ever heard someone speaking and they were in a real monotone, real boring voice, they were not in their social engagement system. Or if you hear somebody whose speech sounds really shrill, or you can know, oh boy, that person's upset or angry, they're also not in their social engagement system. So if you're calm and you're reading a children's book, you're probably in your social engagement system. And if you're singing, it might be in your social engagement system, unless you're into heavy metal or something. But anyway, a person's voice, when they're in their social engagement system is working, their voice is going to sound friendly and almost like musical. And then our ears will also be better adapted to being able to hear human voices. So that's interestingly my.
So, say you're a college student and you go and you sit down for a lecture and your professor always has a monotone voice. Does that mean he's not in his social engagement system?
Right, yeah. Yeah. And also when you're in your social engagement system, there is a good connection between the brain cells in your heart and the rest of your brain in your head. And a lot of people don't know that there's brain cells in your heart, but
yeah, we were talking.
When we're talking with,
yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, and you said something about when they were doing a study with some monks.
Oh, the monks, yeah. There's a neurobiology researcher named Richard Davison who was studying monks from a monastery who do a ton of kind of focus on compassion and meditating and things like that. And so when he was studying compassion in these monks, the monks were curious why he didn't put electrodes over their heart, because the researcher just put electrodes, that he electroencephalogram (EEG) um, contacts over his head, over the person's head, and I don't think he had a way to put electrodes over the person's heart, but I'm not sure how that research went. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of almost when we talk in metaphors, the heart is like the source of compassion and and courage and things like that. And actually, cœur is French for heart. So if you have courage, it's attributed to your heart.
Huh.
Excuse me. And if you're in your social engagement, you'll also be more playful and feel connected with people and have more clarity. Your brain thinks more clearly.
Yeah.
If you're in your social engagement system, have better intuition, a little more confident, more creative, more curious, have more curiosity.
Yeah.
So that's all the social engagement system. Shall we talk about fight or flight next?
Oh, yes.
Synthetic. So the main reason polyvagal theory is so helpful is it helps us understand how people react to stress and what stress can do to us. So the first thing that stress can do to us is either go into a fight or flight state. So when we're in fight or flight, we have a lot of energy in our body, and if it happens for a long time, it just can feel like too much energy in our body. So we might be fidgeting, might be hyperactive. Our brain worries a lot. It's funny when we're in fight or flight, we'll worry a lot, and when we worry a lot, it keeps us in fight or flight. So there's a lot of things like that kind of work as a feedback cycle. So also when we're in fight or flight, we might be crabby or irritable or be obsessive about things. More likely to have, well, if you have anxiety, it's because your nervous system is riding that gas pedal, that warp drive in the fight or flight state. And of course, panic attacks, that's where panic attacks come from. It's from, it's like, of course, the nervous system affects other parts of our body that also control us, like the endocrine system, our hormones. So if we're in fight or flight, it'll tell our adrenal glands to spit out some adrenaline. And if our adrenal glands spit out a bunch of adrenaline, I suspect that might be a contributor to having a panic attack and having it take a while for the panic attack to resolve because our body has spit out a bunch of adrenaline. And the fight or flight, as I mentioned before, is a choice. If we're good at fighting, it's like if we're a deer and a mountain lion is chasing us, we'll probably run, so that's flight. But if instead we're a black bear and a mountain lion might be chasing your cubs, it'd be pretty stupid to go after a big black bear. But the mama bear might go into the fight state because mama bear knows that they can handle a mountain lion, or especially if the cubs are involved. So for us humans, fight or flight looks more like fight is the crabbiness part that I mentioned. The flight part is escaping our uncomfortable emotions or our conflicts by some kind of a diversion, like drinking alcohol or taking drugs or taking up gambling or anything that helps us escape how we're feeling.
The picture that you have next on that slide right there, I want to tell everybody. I didn't see at first what exactly it was because I put it onto my Kindle, which is black and white. But in the color version that he sent me, I could see it better. But the picture is these two ladies sitting on this couch, And I thought the one lady was just drinking a cup of water or something, but no, she's drinking a cup of wine or some sort of alcohol anyways. And the lady next to her has
Right.
a bullhorn and is blowing at her. So
Right. Yeah.
it's a good example of that.
Right. Yeah. So the lady drinking the wine is in flight, and the lady hollering at her is in fight. They're trying to fight to get her to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on that. Well, actually, down further on the slide is an answer to one of my questions I didn't read. But I have a question for you. If someone stays in that flight or fight stage like
yeah.
a really long time, um,
hmm
is that like, I mean, how bad can that get? Like if they're like how long can someone stay in that state?
Good question, because probably, if it gets really severe, I suspect the body gets worn out and falls into a more shut down state, which kind of looks like bipolar. So if you're manic is a very high energy um, state. So it's in the fight or flight side of things. And a person's brain might be very active, but not very clear, because they'll think, oh, I can afford to buy a boat and a motorcycle and a truck to pull the boat, and then realize later,
Oops.
that maybe that didn't work out too well.
Mm.
So yeah. If it's too severe, yeah, I think it's likely that the body will kind of shut down and just run out of gas. There's a term that I never quite understood completely, but I think it might have something to do with this. That's called adrenal fatigue. Um, so yeah, that could be explained by your nervous system is riding the gas pedal, which causes your adrenal glands to kick out a lot of adrenaline, but maybe they run out. Those glands run out of adrenaline, and then you run out of gas. So
Mm.
yeah,
That
you
makes
just shut
sense.
down. Yeah,
My
which I
other,
think, yeah, probably explains bipolar disorder.
yeah, that would. My other question is, like when you come out of that stage, flight or fight, or freeze. Is freeze in here? Yeah, freeze is in here too. No, it's
Freezes
not.
the next life.
Oh, well, it says when mammals are coming out of freeze, they often go through the fight or flight response. Oh, okay. Well, my question was, what
Right.
happens when they come out of the fight or flight response? But I guess that they would. I mean, what? Where would they be when they come out of
Yeah,
fight or flight
it's
response?
actually, you go back into social engagement.
Okay.
So yeah, the two directions you could go out of fight or flight is back up into social engagement, which is you're feeling good, you're feeling calm, your energy level in your body is comfortable, not too much, not too small. Or the other direction you can go from fight or flight is to collapse into freeze, faint, that kind of thing.
It says reading the last sentence, no, two sentences of uh can you read the last two sentences of that slide right there?
Sure, yeah. When mammals are coming out of freeze, which is the response to stress that we're going to talk about next,
Okay.
when mammals are coming out of freeze, they often go through the fight or flight response. So they might be anxious or irritable or whatever, which is uncomfortable but harmless. If we're afraid of our anxiety symptoms, we can go back into freeze.
Mm.
So if we feel bad, feel shame about our, how we just acted, if we just had a meltdown, then we'll feel bad about it and go back into freeze.
Okay, that makes sense.
We go into
Oh yes.
the
Yep.
submit these next. So the next thing, and it's like a couple of slides. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I call it the submit, freeze, faint. And fight or flight was a choice. Whichever you are in the habit of doing or you think you're best at. Whereas submit, freeze, faint is more of an order of severity. Submit has a little bit of more gas pedal and also brake pedal in it. The submit, freeze, faint I consider to be like the brakes on your nervous system. So if you're submitting, you're being a people pleaser. You're sacrificing yourself to take care of other people. You have a hard time asking for things for yourself, and a hard time saying no to other people's requests for you to take care of them. And another name for submit is fawn. People use the word fawn because then everything starts with the F: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, faint. So anyway, a more severe, so that has some action to it. So there's a little bit of gas pedal in there too. When you're fawning, you're taking care of people, you're active, you're busy. Mm-hmm. But freeze is a little more of the brakes and a little less gas pedal, where you're, if you have depression, it's because your nervous system is riding the brakes quite a bit, and there's not as much gas pedal, fight or flight in there. And so when you're in freeze, the freeze response is for if you're a deer and a mountain lion has caught you. When the mountain lion has caught you and it's taking out chunks, maybe, you don't want to feel your pain. You don't want to feel your emotions. You don't want to move, because then the mountain lion will realize you're not dead yet and, work on you more. And you don't want to call out to your friends, because if you call out to your friends, they might be in danger. They might get eaten by the mountain lion too. So, and you might even be feeling, well, okay, mountain lion, why not just get it over with? So you might not even be feeling much desire to continue living, which I think is where suicidal ideation comes from.
Yeah.
It's from that early, instinct to go into that deep freeze when we're being, attacked or eaten. So anyway, a lot of the symptoms, one I mentioned already, depression comes from the freeze response. And some of the symptoms of depression is things aren't fun. You don't have any positive emotions. You might be feeling numbness. And you're not motivated. You might want to just lay in bed all day. You're feeling really low on energy. Your appetite is going to be messed up one way or the other. I think it's a milder case where you have increased appetite. I have that sometimes. I'm feeling bad, so hey, I'll eat something.
Yeah.
But if you're deep into freeze, you probably won't have much appetite at all. And if you're in freeze for years or decades, you'll be the kind of person that hardly eats anything but is still overweight, because your metabolism is so slow.
Huh.
And since this part of the nervous system does your ability to sleep, you're going to have difficulty sleeping, or sometimes if you're able to sleep, you'll want to sleep, for 12, 14 hours a day. So there's a variation that can happen.
Is that like a form of escapism too, in a way? Like if you just
go
to sleep, right, just to escape the.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just stay in bed, not deal with life and adulting. Yeah. So on my next slide of submit, freeze, faint, dizziness, vertigo, POTS. POTS stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which means postural means whether you're sitting or standing. Orthostatic means changing your position to standing. Tachycardia means your heart's beating really fast. And syndrome is just, the thing that happens. So anyway, the label for this response, submit, freeze, faint, the faint part is if your nervous system really shuts down, you feel that dizziness or vertigo. the tachycardia of POTS, that's the gas pedal kicking in to avoid your blood pressure going too low so you don't faint.
Oh,
So
okay. Huh.
anyway, if you have brain fog, there's many symptoms that are caused by the nervous system where a person will have brain fog or dissociation. If you're a deer or if you're a human and a mountain lion has attacked you, you might have the sensation of being outside of your body. People who have car accidents or getting beat up, sometimes they'll actually be able to observe it from outside of their body. That's called dissociation. So that's kind of just goes along with the difficulty concentrating. If our consciousness leaves our brain and our body, it makes it hard to concentrate.
It seems.
And actually, go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking about the disassociation thing. That would that be kind of like a protective mechanism for the body, like in a
Oh,
way, like
sure.
for the brain to protect itself?
Right.
Like, hey, this is happening to me. I don't want to feel all this. I don't want to know all that. Like the brain,
Right.
that
Yeah.
part shutting down, kind of.
Yeah, if you're in a battle, if you're in war and you're in a battle, and you get a great big chunk of metal in your leg, you still need to run out of there to get out of there, and so you won't feel that chunk of metal in your leg until you're in a safe place, and then, oh yeah, I have a chunk of metal in my leg, that hurts.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely the defense, and also if you're being eaten by a mountain lion and the mountain lion isn't really hungry right now and he just decides to come back and eat you later, you'll have a chance. You won't be so distracted by your pain that you won't be able to get up and run away when the mountain lion wanders off.
Right.
So there's definitely an adaptive advantage to this whole stress response.
Hmm.
So other symptoms of being kind of in a chronic freeze, your nervous system riding the brakes, is low worthiness. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not successful enough. All those not enoughness,es which is called shame. And then also the part of the nervous system that has the brakes put on it is in charge of your immune system. So if your nervous system is riding the brakes most of the time, your immune system will not know how to work well. It'll start attacking things it's not supposed to, like parts of your body, or it won't attack things that it is supposed to, like germs or cancer. So that's kind of significant if your immune system is not working right. Inflammation is another part of that. Your immune system is in charge of inflammation. So if you have inflammation in your body, it's kind of bad for your health.
Right.
Yeah. So some other some health problems that are caused mostly by being in freeze, your nervous system riding the brakes, is fibromyalgia, chronic headaches, migraine, and I have let's see it. And whether something is caused by mostly the brakes or mostly the gas pedal, I'm not absolutely certain about. There just hasn't been enough study, because most doctors barely know that these are the reasons for the things that they are mystified. Their patient has fibromyalgia. They barely know what's going on, but so they don't know to study, what part of the nervous system is causing the problem. So on another slide, I have combination symptoms. I don't know whether it's mostly the brakes or mostly the gas pedal. So things like long COVID, chronic Lyme disease, bladder issues. I see interstitial cystitis is where your bladder feels like it has an infection, but they can't find any germs. So are things like pelvic pain, fibroids, endometriosis, all of those things.
Mm.
And oddball things like dry eyes or psoriasis or food sensitivities. Basically anything labeled idiopathic, which means the doctor doesn't know why you have this health problem. It's quite often the nervous system that's just not running well. You know, it's right in the brakes, it's right in the gas pedal to some degree, and that's the reason for it.
That kind of explains certain things, at least for me, because I've had stuff that's come up and I've gone to the doctor, like during the times when I was in really bad situations and stuff, and I've had stuff that come up that, man, this hurts or this doesn't feel right, and I go to the doctor and nothing wrong with me, and that could be what it was because I was going through such a bad response of what was happening in my life. That could be why. So that makes a lot of sense that would, yeah. Is it like your body kind of
Yeah,
crying out that, hey, there's an issue, and that you should take care of it type of thing? Like, to me, I kind of look
yeah,
at it as
yeah,
like the body is telling you, hey, there's something wrong and we're giving you this pain, take a break and look. And like maybe if doctors had more understanding about this and then, okay, we're not finding anything. Okay, so what is going on in your life? What might be causing you to have these responses, these fight, flight, or freeze responses, that maybe
yeah,
that's what it is.
yeah.
I
There
don't
is an
know.
example, there's a metaphor. One of my favorite podcasters who talks about chronic conditions, chronic pain, um, likens it to, you know, a person with back pain or knee pain. It's like the fire alarm in your
Oh,
body. So imagine your fire alarm is going off in your house, and the fire department comes and they start pouring water on the fire alarm. and that's what doctors do. You know, you have knee pain, so let's look at your knee and see what's wrong. Or you have back pain, let's look at your back and see what's wrong.
yeah.
Um, there are almost any person over the age of 40. If you look at their spine, you're going to find bulging discs. You're going to find herniated discs, and a lot of those people don't have any back pain. But yet, if you have back pain, a doctor will look and say, "Oh, you have a bulging disc. That's the cause of your back pain." But what about all those people that have that and don't have back pain?
That's interesting.
Uh,
Huh. Your next slide here,
mm-hmm.
with there's like, I'm gonna describe it to people. There's two pictures of a mother and a baby, and the first picture is a picture of her looking at the baby, very straight faced, no emotion in her face at all, and the baby looks a little upset by that. And then the next
Right.
picture, the mother is smiling and happy, a lot of emotion on her face, and the baby is looking at her, and the baby's all happy. And the reason why I wanted to say something about this is this reminds me of when well, my oldest son, I call him Buddy because I don't want to give out their names. When he
Okay.
was very young, I went through a study called Mother Infant Study through MSU, and that was,
Oh wow.
yeah, and that happened. That was like 3 years, I think. And I don't know what the
Huh.
results of that study was. Um, but at that time, his dad was going to MSU. He was a student at MSU, and
Okay.
so we kind of was able to get involved with that. But anyways, so we did the mother infant study, and that was one of the things that I had to do because they were doing reactions between mothers and their babies and things like that. So that was one of
Yeah.
the things I remember. That was
Oh,
one of
that's
the things I
neat.
had to do. But
Yeah,
at
this
that
is
point,
something that people, taking a psychology class, psychology 101, they hear about something called the still face experiment, and that's what these pictures are from.
yeah. And the thing is, though, at that point, he hadn't been diagnosed with autism yet. That didn't happen until he
Yeah.
was in his third grade. But um, so he had a lot of different reactions to different things than the other kids did. Um,
Mhm.
but this, I do remember this one. So. Anyways, I just had to
Okay,
point
neat.
that out. I thought it was interesting. I was like,
Right.
hey,
Yeah.
I remember doing something like that.
Yeah. These pictures are from a video um, that I watched where they showed the mom. The mom starts out friendly with the baby, and the baby's happy. And then for 60 seconds, the mom puts on this flat face.
Yep.
And she almost looks a little crabby there too. But but anyway, the baby in that 60 seconds fights for attention. And then in the picture on the slide, it looks like the baby's trying to get away, so trying to escape the
Yeah.
the stress. And then the baby also shuts down. In that 60 seconds, it goes through fight, flight, and then freeze. Through all the reactions, at least in this video that I saw.
Yeah, I remember that. He had to stay totally still. Couldn't react to him, couldn't nothing. Just whole
And
still flat.
it's
That was really hard to do.
it's oh yeah, it's heartbreaking to watch in the video for 60 seconds. This baby struggling to figure out
Hmm.
what's going on. Yeah. So my next slide has to do with the reasons that our brain does apply the brakes or apply the gas pedal. So I'll go through that list. Prenatal stress. So if the mom is stressed, the baby is floating around in those stress hormones.
Mm.
I, I I watched a video once of a sonogram. It was a video sonogram of a fetus inside a mom, and they played the sound of breaking glass and a man hollering, and you could see that fetus go into a startle reaction.
Oh, wow.
So that's interesting. And then being born is stressful. I saw my three kids, and I also in nursing school watched a couple other kids get born, and they put a monitor on the mom's, a fetal heart monitor on the mom's stomach, and it can tell when there's a contraction happening, and it watches the baby's heartbeat. And I saw the heartbeat go down whenever there was a contraction with all the kids, I saw being born. And I didn't know about the freeze response. I just thought, well, fight or flight, the stress of a contraction should cause the heartbeat to go up. So what was happening is when there was a contraction, the heartbeat going down, that means the nervous system was going into freeze. It was, putting on the brakes.
Huh.
And so my first kid, it took 36 hours of labor to get that kid out. and so for 36 hours, that nervous system is putting on the brakes every 5 minutes or so, 5, 6 minutes.
Wow.
And so nervous systems get into habits, and those habits can last for a long time. And that kid, sure enough, is a very low key, never bad into depression because there wasn't any more stress after being born. But was always, kind of a low key personality.
Hmm.
So anyway, that's birth stress. And then medical procedures and practices. If you go into surgery and go into anesthesia, that's when you come out of it, they're checking your bowel sounds. That means that if they hear your bowels, your intestines moving around, that means the brakes have been lifted enough to say that you're out of shock. But even though your bowel sounds come back, your nervous system still tends to stay a little bit of brakes, a little bit into shock, that freeze. So yeah, being in shock is the same thing as being into the freeze response, only it's more of a short-term thing.
Yeah.
So, and back before the mid-90s, I was in nursing school in the early 90s. They didn't think that infants could feel pain. So if an infant had a surgery or a procedure, such as like circumcision, there was no anesthesia, and that was certainly a strong. in nursing school, I saw a one-day-old boy being circumcised, and that kid was in full-on trauma. He was screaming.
I don't
And
understand that, what their reasoning for that would be. Didn't anyone like put a monitor on them to see that, hey, their body's responses are different now that they're in actual pain? I
well,
don't understand that.
back then, most of the doctors were men,
Oh,
and they probably didn't take care of their own babies. So, back then we used pins to hold the diapers on. If your pin accidentally stabbed that baby, they can feel pain.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but yeah. So if you had a surgery, when I was born, I was a forceps delivery, so I had bruises on my face as a newborn from the forceps delivery, and it caused a hernia. And so at 3 months old, I had a hernia repair. And I can just imagine that they might not have used anesthesia.
Oh,
They just strap you down and start cutting.
it makes me wonder, like, how
So,
much of the infant mortality back then was because they didn't give them any kind of pain relief. They just thought they could go in and they could just cut away. I mean, how many might
yeah.
have just succumbed because of all the
Hmm.
pain and the trauma? Sorry, my mind just went
Yeah.
elsewhere. I was just like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. It's kind of cringy,
Yeah,
cringy to talk about, isn't it?
yeah, it's like nails on the chalkboard. I'm just like cringing in my seat here. Oh my gosh, those poor children.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
Okay,
let's move on to older kids.
yes, please.
As an older kid, there's something called, what we talked about the last time was adverse childhood experiences.
Yeah,
Um, so what we're talking about today is the reason adverse childhood experiences have the effect they have on our health,
yeah,
because of what it does to our nervous system. And then there's shock trauma. If you get into a car accident or you're in war and you get blown up or something by improvised explosive device or something,
hmm,
that can cause trauma, which is, I call trauma is anything that gets your nervous system stuck into a stress state, such as, riding the brakes or riding the gas pedal. Traumatic brain injury, so anything that knocks our brain around inside of our skull too much, our brain doesn't like that, so it goes into the same state because of that. And it can be passed on from one generation to the next. Did we talk about the mouse? Yeah, the mouse study
yeah.
last time.
Yep, we did.
They smell the fairy blossoms, so that's, it can be passed on from one generation to the next. So that's some of the causes of our nervous system. I think I have another page of what might cause our nervous system to go into a stress state. I have a word called neuroception. The guy who invented polyvagal theory came up with this word called neuroception, which is we don't see a grouchy face and think, oh, that person is grouchy, maybe I should get into a stress state. Our nervous system just makes that decision for us instantaneously. We see a grouchy person and we immediately are getting a little more defensive. Be careful here, or don't say anything or put up our guard or whatever. And it's very much related to hypervigilance. If you have if you have PTSD, there's a symptom called hypervigilance, and my metaphor for that is the smoke alarm goes off when you put the toast in the toaster. So that's a smoke alarm that's a little too sensitive.
Yeah. Or you come around my house when I'm cooking.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah, I
so,
could see that.
yeah, so that's something that people hear about, or the back in the old days when cars would backfire,
Oh,
somebody with PTSD from going to war might duck for cover if a car backfired. Don't hear that too much anymore these days. So then I The next thing on my slide here I call feedback cycles. And that is where the brain state causes certain symptoms, like, being in freeze causes us to not feel emotions, but the symptoms can also cause the brain state. So if we live in a culture where emotions are not allowed, we're discouraged from showing emotion, we'll stuff it down, and that causes us to go into freeze, which causes depression. If we have depression, we tend not to socialize, and if we tend not to socialize, it causes depression. So that's kind of a feedback cycle. A lot of the symptoms can cause the brain state that the symptom comes from. And it can also be the reason for the ways to get out of a stress state. Stress states, fight or flight causes us to breathe faster, and the freeze response causes us to breathe shallower. So if we do an exercise where we breathe slower and deeper, it undoes those stress states.
Well, that makes
sense. That's why the breathing techniques work. Yeah. The last thing on this slide is punishment. I call it using fear to discourage behaviors caused by fear. If you're in a stress, if you're in especially like fight or flight, all the behaviors that we do if we're in fight or flight are things that are discouraged. Like having addictions or being a violent, an aggressive person. And so if we're having behaviors that are caused by being in fight or flight, then punishment will just kind of exacerbate that brain state that causes those symptoms, those behaviors. So some examples of punishment I put are being shamed, blamed, rejected. The human brain hates rejection. It's like the most scary thing in the world is rejection.
Oh, yeah.
So my next slide, shall we go on to the next slide now?
Yes. I got
If you studied psychology, you might have heard about Maslow and his hierarchy of needs. So the main idea is that the needs that are listed on this pyramid, like the ability to breathe, so air, food, water, sex, sleep, homeostasis, which means, being at the right temperature, being not too dehydrated or anything like that. So bodily functions, if they're working well, we're not stressed. The next level is safety. If we're feeling safe, we don't feel stressed. But if we don't feel safe, we're going to go into a stress state. If we don't, at the next level, it's called love and belonging. If we don't feel like we have friends, if we don't are not getting along with our family, things like that, we might feel stressed from that. If we don't, a little higher on this pyramid, being respected by other people. If we don't feel respected, we might feel stressed because of that. Further up on this pyramid is self-actualization, like being the best. If you're a mom, being the best mom you can be. If you're a factory worker, being the best factory worker you can be. If you're a carpenter, being the best carpenter you can be. And at the top of the pyramid, it's called, one of the labels is self-transcendence. It's basically thinking about other people, being aware of other people's feelings and other people's needs, and feeling a sense of unity with everyone, which is kind of something that religion tends to give people. And because of that, a lot of psychology textbooks leave off that top layer of self-transcendence, unitive consciousness, that kind of thing. That top layer is something that Maslow kind of added late in his career. because you realize, oh, self-actualization is a very kind of a selfish concept. You know, the the most well-adjusted people actually are also concerned about other people, how everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, shall we move on to the next slide?
Yes.
The good stuff. This is the good stuff. What helps us move back into our social engagement, where we're feeling calm and collected and feeling safe and feeling like we don't have too much energy in our body or not enough. So we're in the Goldilocks zone of energy in our body and feeling calm and healthy. So what helps us move into that nervous system working well and social engagement is face-to-face interaction with other people who look like they're safe and calm and collected and are getting along well with people. Hanging out with people where there's acceptance and understanding and people not always telling you what to do. So autonomy. People are appreciative of anything you contribute. You're being respected. People are treating each other with compassion and curiosity. So that, so socializing with friendly people is one of the best ways to get into a good state ourselves.
Yeah.
Along with things like play and exercise, moving our body. Our body likes to move. It's good for us. Eating healthy food, getting enough sleep. Mindfulness is paying attention to what's going on in our mind. So if we worry too much, we'll think, oh boy, here I am worrying again. Oh, silly me. Maybe I'll think about something else. Maybe I'll do some gratitude. Gratitude kind of goes against the grain of the direction our brain naturally goes into. Our brain, I'll call it our mind. Our mind naturally tends to gravitate towards negative stuff. They call it negativity bias.
Huh.
It's just a survival. It's just a survival adaptation. But it tends to cause us to go into the stress states. So in order to kind of counteract that, gratitude is, that's the reason why gratitude is good for us, because it helps us realize that all those negative things we think about aren't the only thing going on in the world. There's good things that we might be able to focus on. Sensory and body awareness is on my list of things that help us move into the social engagement state. And the reason for that is not being aware of your body is dissociation. It's a symptom of freeze. So one way to get out of freeze is to force yourself to be aware of what's going on in your body, what's going on in your emotions. Sometimes I'll ask the person as we talk about this stressful thing, what are you feeling in your body? Some people might say, oh, I'm feeling a ball of dough in my gut, or I'm feeling heaviness in my heart, or tightness in my throat. So being aware of your body and your emotions helps get out of the stress states that you might be in.
Huh.
And I already mentioned breathing techniques, why that works.
Yeah.
And then I have a list of trauma therapies. One of the interesting ones with neurofeedback. You put an EEG on a person, so they're tracking your brain waves, and then there's a computer showing you a screen, and the interaction between what you're looking at on the screen and your brain causes it puts your brain into a state where it's more of a healthy, cheerful state. So it's kind of interesting.
Huh.
So we're getting near the conclusion.
Yeah.
my slides, and I realized, boy, we've been talking an hour already, or almost.
Goes by fast.
So, yeah, yeah. But fortunately, this is interesting to people, so they won't. Usually, when I'm listening to a podcast, I sometimes, listen to 10 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and it takes me all day to get through a podcast. So people can't listen all at once; they can listen to us in parts.
That's true.
So yeah. The conclusion is that the stress states are physiology, not behavior. Sometimes they call the work that I do behavioral health, and I'm not sure I like that term because a person's behavior strongly depends on the state of their nervous system. So if your nervous system is riding the gas pedal real hard, it's going to be very difficult to not be either grouchy or escape into some kind of addiction or unhealthy behavior, unhealthy habit. So understanding that our behaviors are caused by our nervous system, the workings of our body, helps us understand people better.
That makes sense.
And my next statement here is that stress is at least a component of all disease and often a cause of a lot of, especially the chronic conditions that people have.
Yeah.
And then frequent small stresses can accumulate over time. Each little unpleasant thing that happens can feed into your nervous system, either riding the brakes more and more, or riding the gas pedal more and more, or a little of both. The good news, of course, is that the effects of stress and trauma, which is just more severe stress, can be resolved. There are ways to get your nervous system back into that social engagement Goldilocks zone. And understanding all this can help us reduce conflict. We can understand people better and reduce shame. What's wrong? I'm depressed. What's wrong with me? Oh, my nervous system is riding the brakes. Oh, I can do something about that.
Yeah.
So that can help people heal. We just understand how this all works. So that's pretty much it. You have any questions or talk a little more about it?
This explains a lot to me, and I understand a lot of it. How I can see where all this works together. How like your stress level just can cause all this stuff, and
Yeah.
very, very. I like this. This is very very informative.
Yeah, and a lot of medical doctors are not up on this information. They spend a lot of time learning about drugs, which are just band-aids for the symptoms that people are having, or do this surgery or that surgery, and or let's do an X-ray or an MRI and see what the body looks like. And you can't tell whether a person if their nervous system is riding the brakes by doing an MRI.
Yeah.
Might be able to do some kind of a brain scan and see that, but anyway, any other questions or comments?
I don't, other than I really appreciate you coming on and explaining all this and talking about all this. This is really, I think people find this very, very informative and very interesting, because it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Explains so much.
I agree.
And to me, it just seems like doctors really need to start looking into this stuff more instead of just throwing pills at people and
Right.
stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
I once had a
I
doctor.
think I mentioned yesterday.
Huh?
I think I mentioned yesterday that one thing doctors might sometimes do is either implant a vagus nerve stimulator, or you can buy external vagus nerve stimulators, which seems like kind of a crude approach. What if your nervous system is already riding the gas pedal? I don't know if a vagus nerve stimulator might not help with that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to a doctor one time, and I think it was during one of those times where I had something and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. And the doctor
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to throw some pills at me for it. And I didn't want to take them. And he goes, well, why did you come here then if you don't want the pills? I said, I don't want something that just masks it because
Right.
there's an issue. I don't know what it is. There's an issue. I don't want it just to be masked. I want it fixed or help with it,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not just to cover it up. He didn't like that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what it is, but here you can have these pills, and it can take whatever pain, whatever it was. I'm like, no, I want something that'll
Mm-hmm.
help with it. What is this? Well, I don't know, but take these pills. No. I wish not all doctors are like that. It's just in that situation, that's what it was. And now that I think back at it, it's probably what it was. My
Yeah.
brake pedal was doing whatever, or my gas pedal was doing whatever, and if I had gotten,
Right. Yeah. My one idea I have is you write little notes. You get a pill box, for morning and evening pills, for Sunday and Monday, those little pill boxes they have, and
hmm
put a little note in each one, in each box. Put a little note that says, "Do your 4-7-8 breathing." Morning, do your 4-7-8 breathing. Evening, do your 4-7-8 breathing. Monday morning, do your 4-7-8 breathing. Monday evening, do your 4-7-8 breathing.
That's actually kind of a good
Because
idea.
yeah, because pills, you take a pill, the first one works pretty well, but the next one you take doesn't work nearly as well,
Right.
then you end up having to take more to have the same effect. Whereas if you do 4-7-8 breathing, and you can Google that, each time you do it, your body learns what it's supposed to do, and it works better each time you do it.
Oh no, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing notes as I'm talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
That should be.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up because I got a
Let
doctor.
people get
Speaking
on
of
to
which,
the
I have a
next.
doctor's appointment I got to get to.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And you have whatever you have to go do. But yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming back on. And this is like some amazing information, and I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
my pleasure. I love this subject. Yeah.
All righty. Well, do you want to say goodbye to everybody, Richard?
Yes. I hope this has been helpful, and thanks for listening.
Hmm. Well, thank you, Mr. Richard Featherly, and I really appreciate it you being on here. Thank you so much. More.
My pleasure. Bye bye.
More later. Bye.